Broadcasting live in downtown Oakland.
I'm David Hollander, and you're listening to Protect Your Assets. Over the last 20 years, I've met many people dissatisfied with the lack of value and personal attention their financial advisor provides them. At Liberty Group, we personalize every aspect of our clients' retirement and financial plan with estate law, wealth management, and tax planning all under one roof. Call today to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Well, we've come a long way from the season start for the Real Races Virtual Club presented by Liberty Group, and while we might be getting set to put one season to bed, I can guarantee you we are set to go out with a bang. Welcome to Monday Night Action here on RaceSpotTV, to the season finale of the Real Races Virtual Club presented by Liberty Group here at Road America in Elkhart Lake. I'm Nolan Bremble, beside me in the booth, Sumo Aurora, with Hugo Luis down behind the cameras as technical director for tonight's presentation. So 25 more minutes to go in the season here, Sumo, and boy, oh boy, I don't think there is any better facility you could have it end off at than here at Road America, just like where it was in the Formula 3 season just back in the spring.
100% Nolan, it's the best place to come to for any season finale, quite simply because it always gives you great racing action. This Pro Mazda car has proven to be a hit everywhere, including Phillip Island, a circuit where normally one did not expect great racing. Well, if Phillip Island was a blockbuster, imagine what Road America will be like. Pandemonium, absolutely crazy racing, a ton of drafting, and with so much space, I imagine a ton of overtakes and a ton of shifting and changing in the championship order as well.
And of course, that is the big story coming into today, right? Of course, despite Anders Krohn not being present 1 week ago at Laguna Seca, he did lock out the championship last year thanks to the drop weeks, find himself 40 points clear of Max Butler. And with a maximum of only 26 up for grabs tonight, Max Butler is effectively out of the title hunt. But Butler himself, good enough for second place. The real battle on for third. Look at Wade Michael and Robert McGinnis. Just 4 points separated them for the final step on the podium, as well as Rick Sheldon, Joseph Butler, and David Anderson in a three-way tie for 7th.
100%, it's such a big battle going on right there into that position. And then you've got Nicholas Lear, then you've got Zach Hudson. Everyone is in a fight over here, apart from, of course, Krohn and Butler, which leaves them even more, let's say, chilled out, more focused on their own races. Imagine how dangerous they could be once there is no pressure to the championship, and imagine what the fighting is going to be like all the way back there with all these drivers. And it's good that we're having this race on a Monday evening. Finally, everyone is available to race, and this just means, Nolan, more relaxed drivers, more prepared drivers, and at Road America, always a more fun race.
And of course, you mentioned that, of course, everybody's available to race. These races usually take place on a Tuesday night. The reason why it's on a Monday night, though, is, of course, Petit Le Mans was this past weekend, and that has kept a great many drivers busy. Most notably, I would imagine Nolan Siegel and Tyler McQuarrie, both those drivers racing in the Audi R8 LMS and for the GT4. And you can see them right there. You're having a great time. They were over at Road America. They started strong, but unfortunately had to retire due to a very unfortunate gearbox issue that saw them out of the race early on. But I imagine they had a fun time while it lasted, to say the very least. I have been hearing it was a fantastic event. course, Robert McGinnis was also present there. He raced for Lexus in the number 12 over in the feature race. He finished 3rd place in the GTD, so a podium at Petit Le Mans over that 12-hour endurance race. Definitely no small feat.
Yeah, 100%. And McGinnis, that's the amazing part. He's able to translate it right down the real world, right here in the sim as well. Every single time he comes up. That's the amazing thing. He never gives you a 50% performance. Whenever McGinnis is racing, you will see him be completely all out. And actually, the last time out the series came to racing, I think we were at Laguna Seca, weren't we? He was P1. He dominated that race. And McGinnis right there reminded everyone why he's actually in that Lexus in the real world as well.
Of course, they were not the only ones that were present at Petit Le Mans. Most notably, the Coforce crew was over at Petit Le Mans. They were, of course, collecting a bunch of photos over IMSA and IndyCar. You got guys like Max and Joe Butler that were present, Wade Michael, I know Jackson Ball was there, Nicholas Leo, Zach Hudson, and even more. They were all out there at Petit Le Mans, being able to catch some fantastic shots. I imagine having a ball of a time as well. And of course, this last week as well, Rick Sheldon made a trip on over to John Trevethan's house, a driver we've kind of been seeing off and on so far throughout the season. Got him dialed in for that sim rig here tonight. So, and, well, it's a bit of an interesting story, this one, right? Because Rick Sheldon, as I've been told, he was asking John if he had ever actually raced, amateur road at all. He said, well, take a look right over there. And well, how about that? There's a 996 GT3 Winners' Cup trophy waiting for him right up on the shelf. So he's got, by the way, that is not the only trophy he's got on his shelf as well. Most notably, he has also got a Club Racing 2006 Regional Championship at the D Modified Tour for BMW, as well as that Yokohama Drivers' Cup trophy as well. So he has been rather busy throughout the last few years, it would seem.
And what's the stunning part about this, right? So many drivers come up in the real world, so many drivers win trophies, but to make it extra special, John Trevethan was around 64, 65 at the time of these trophies, Nolan. He's currently around in his mid-70s. To see him still on the sim is just amazing. And it's a reminder that age does not matter at all. It's just a number. If you really are young at heart, you want to go racing, you will go racing. And he has. And even at that age, just to go out there to win so many trophies, it's quite something. At least the future is bright for us in that case, isn't it? That the time isn't 100% out for us. Maybe someday, who knows?
Of course, he was 63 and 64 when he won those trophies. Now, tender age of 78, but still having a great time racing here on the sim. And I tell you what, I always love to see that sort of thing. It goes to show that you can go out and have fun in the world of motorsports, no matter what age you are. You do not need to be a young gun nowadays, despite what some sources might have you believe. You can go out there and have a good time no matter what age you are. And speaking of guys having a good time as well, Rick Sheldon himself did a little bit of racing recently. Himself and Dave Anderson, they raced last week over at Thunderhill. And we talked about this before, right? They've both raced 1969 vintage Datsun 510s. And that is them, the first two you see in the picture. Gosh, those are some beautiful looking race cars. But they were in a field of 16. Both of them finished in the top 10, about one position away from each other. Had a great time doing it. I tell you what, it looks mighty fun to drive those. I've never raced one of those myself. I don't think I've even seen one of those raced. But just from looking at them, you can tell they look like a ball.
Yeah, they seriously do. And with these cars, you can always race so close. And the thing with touring cars is, especially with the Datsuns from what I've heard, they're always on the edge, always on the limit. So you're constantly fighting the car, even though you might not be going around a corner at 120 kph, but you're still fighting with the car at all times. And the grip is so limited, which is the fun part about racing, right? You don't need to have so much grip to have a lot of fun. Sometimes the lighter, more fun machines are the way to go. And those Datsuns, do they look fun. Same thing with the Pro Mazda, isn't it though, Nolan? It's a car that's not very fast, a car that's not very sophisticated, but it's fun. And that's why this whole season, everyone is just wanting to just come on here, come on racing, and have a good time, which is what the series is all about. Real world drivers coming together and having a gala time. And honestly, we've had a gala time too as well this year.
Oh, we certainly have. Every single race has been an absolute pleasure to be able to cover, and we get set for one more tonight. 10 minutes of qualifying. Over 3 laps will be coming on up here in just a few short minutes with the 25-minute race to follow. Of course, in these Legacy Pro Mazdas. It has been such an entertaining season from the middle of August all the way up to now, the middle of November. And I have a feeling these guys are going to be back, and it's going to be better than ever. Of course, Road America. Let's talk about the track for a minute, shall we? We finished the last season off back in the spring in the Formula 3s at this very facility. It was a fantastic race, and with how draft heavy these cars are, it's going to be an even more exciting race here today. I mean, most notably down turn 1. 2 wide, 3 wide, definitely a possibility. They talk about out of turn 11 down to Canada corner at 12. Definitely another good fast opportunity. Don't forget the braking zone down for turn 5 as well. The sharpest corner on the track. Oh boy, we saw a big smash there in the opening laps just back in the spring. Do you reckon that would be potentially a possibility here in the Pro Mazdas as well?
100%, right? There's always something around the corner right here at the Road America. What a slide that was right there. But my Rick Sheldon, man, he saved it so well at that final corner. But this just goes to show, right? There's always something around the corner at Road America. Some action, some carnage. But from what I can tell so far, by the way these drivers race so far, I doubt that we'll see some major carnage. Today, I think they'll be a little more cautious in terms of the racing part of it, because they want to see this through and want to complete the championship fight in a fair way. And the best part is, because they coordinate with each other on Discord, they can probably avoid those rather, can I say, dull first lap accidents that completely ruin the race forward. So I think we're going to see a longer sustained fight for all the positions. That's why, even though it's a possibility, I think they'll avoid it today.
So for reasons previously mentioned, with, of course, Petit Le Mans still very much being present and a couple of guys still looking to potentially recover from that one and got to get some more energy back into their bodies. Of course, it is going to be a relatively smaller field than we're used to seeing today. Only 10 cars set to be out there on the track, but that's not to say that it's going to be there's not going to be an exciting race. I mean, we have seen even just 9 or 8 cars in the past be able to provide a great race. Look back to Silverstone. I think we only actually had 10 cars on the Silverstone race earlier this year, and even then, the racing was still fantastic.
Yeah, you don't need 50,000 cars to have a good race, right? You just need a few drivers and a few close drivers. Hell, sometimes even one-on-one races can be fun, so long as the drivers are close to each other. And in the Real Racers Virtual Club, we might have a few groups here and there where a certain class of drivers are slightly faster than the other ones. But the fact is, in those groupings, there are so many drivers that will always fight against each other. Now imagine this. Krohn and McGuinness this weekend, how close can they be? McGuinness recently coming off a great result at Petit Le Mans. Krohn, the champion over here. That's a fight I want to see for this final round.
So as qualifying gets set to kick off here from Road America, let's take a quick shout out to the guys that helped keep the lights on here at the Real Racers Virtual Club. And it would not be possible without the title sponsor of this fall season, Liberty Group. They believe that everybody should be able to live the retirement that they've always wanted. Their team of professionals can help you to create a well-thought-out strategy using a variety of investments and insurance products and services to help you address your financial needs and concerns. As well as this, the Stephen Wilson Racing Academy exists to assist clients on their motorsport journey. They utilize 20 plus years in the sport with advanced coaching techniques, track and car knowledge, and widespread international industry connections to help clients progress to any level imaginable. Whether the client is new to driving on track or an experienced amateur racer, they can help their clients develop driving skills that enable them to climb through the Ferrari Challenge ranks, win Rarries in Ferrari Challenge, and advance to competing in Pro-Am racing and one day possibly iconic races, such as the Daytona 24 or the Le Mans 24 Hours. And last but certainly not least, Merit Partners is a high-end boutique car dealership specializing in Porsche and Ferrari. With an extensive network of private clients, Merit curates rare and exotic cars for the purpose of buying, selling, and creating investment portfolios. The focus of Merit is to build long-term relationships over time, choosing to have a narrow focus and going deeper with clients. Additionally, Merit offers a wide range of peripheral services for clients, including, but not limited to, car storage, detailing specialty parts, and paint protection film. So that's a shout out to some of the guys that helped keep some of the lights on here at the Real Racers Virtual Club. We would not be bringing you this series without them. Max Butler was the first of the drivers to exit pit road. You're watching Joe Butler ducking through the facility through this third sector. Justin behind him as they get set to start their first laps in qualifying.
And 8 minutes of qualifying at Road America. What a beauty of a session this is going to be. Just to watch the drivers pushing their limits right here. These cameras, my word. You can just have a look at how steep the elevation is at the main stretch. And it's amazing. That's the thing that adds the character to the Road America circuit. The constant elevation changes. The fact that it's still rather old school in the way the circuit is designed. There's no high-profile barriers in there. There's no big pit wall. It's proper old school American road course circuit racing. And that's the amazing part. It adds that charm. It adds that flair even on the sim.
So as we watch Joe Butler getting set to set his first qualifying lap, already 30 seconds gone. We're estimating these laps to be just over 2 minutes. I believe between 2:04s and 2:05s is a pretty safe bet to see where we're going to be seeing times being set today. This is the braking zone that's going to be one to watch out for in the opening lap. The downhill braking zone into turn 5. Going over there too fast is definitely something you're going to have to be very, very cautious about, especially when you're in the draft in a big group of cars. It only took one driver in that spring season to collect about 5 or 6 drivers in that opening melee through turn 5 back in the spring. It's only going to take one mistake to see something similar here in this fall season.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone can be wiped out by one minor error. And that corner as well, right? Turn number 5, you come in a descending downhill section after a long straight, so you're not exactly 100% sure of what the ideal braking line is initially, and that's where the practice comes in handy. We've had a bit of practice, but still, Nolan, we noticed that quite a few drivers were finding their limits still. They were trying to get a little bit better, and in that case, if it translates into some missed braking in the race, that could be a bit scary, but I doubt that'll happen. I think there's enough track time that they're going to get in practice, then right now in the qualifying as well. So the racing that we could get in the race, that could be super clean, super effective. And let's not forget, right, Road America has been on the iRacing service for years now. Everyone has raced it for years. Everyone, maybe not in this particular car, but they know what the circuit is all about. And honestly, it helps. That way you can just acclimatize to the car now, not the circuit. And so you can get there to that peak racing condition a bit faster.
Max Butler set the first lap time, except he did not. Got invalidated. It will actually be Robert McGinnis to set the first lap, and he is currently your provisional pole sitter, set to 2:04.372. Joe Butler's time only good enough for 5th fastest so far. Anders Kroll logs a solid 2nd place time, but of course, that is still about 2/10 fully off of Robert McGinnis' time. So the number 80 machine has been flying. Look back to your former champion, Matthew Escajeda. His crown was toppled just last week over at Laguna Seca by Anders Krohn, who actually managed to take full advantage of the drop week system, and in not showing up, got an extra win that he had earlier on in the season counted. Therefore, Anders Krohn now found himself up in the points league coming over here into Road America. Escajeda is going to come across the line and logs at 2:05.045. That is good enough for P6 on the boards for the time being, but still room for improvement.
Yeah, indeed. And defending champion Escajeda, he was struggling initially to get a hang of this car. But since the halfway mark, Nolan, his performances have become a lot better. And Escajeda has, I wouldn't say been the same champion driver of last season, but you can constantly see a ray of improvement. And that's what happens when you spend more time with the car. I wonder what he'll be like in this race. I wonder what he'll be like next year, when there's more track time, when there's more acclimatization with the car. That is a scary thought. Imagine McGinnis, Krohn, maybe even Phil Dines sometime coming in. That can be so much fun.
Of course, these Pro Mazdas drive nothing like the Dallara F3s that we saw back in the spring season. A lot of drivers have been saying that as well. It's a much more of a difficult car to wrangle around on, in all honesty, is what a lot of these guys are saying. You have to kind of finesse it quite a bit more through these corners. Lift-off oversteer has always been a problem throughout this year so far, and some guys have been able to definitely take account of that one and be able to capitalize off it. Escajeda was not one of those drivers, so who knows? Maybe he'll come back better than ever in season number 3. And Max Butler logging at 2:04.907. That puts him up now to 4th place on the grid. And then how about Joe Butler? Going to be going 5th fastest now.
Okay, let's watch and see what the others do. So both the Butlers close by. Zach Hudson, of course, is also in this big fight that we're having right now for P number 7, which is, by the way, led by Rick Sheldon Championships. Hudson having a lot to prove, and Sheldon currently, as you can see on the screen, P3. That's a big benchmark. If Hudson has to get this fight in his favor, you've got to topple over someone like Rick Sheldon, someone like Joe Butler. And right now, considering how qualifying is going, things don't look in the bright side. But hey, Hudson is still yet to clock his lap. And as we mentioned early on, it's going to be a draft fest. It's going to be a fest of overtaking. Who knows, maybe the finishing order is going to be wildly different than the starting order could be.
And of course, Zach Hudson on his 2nd trip around the track. His first lap did end up getting invalidated. He is now the only driver that is yet to set a time. Everybody else is already on their 3rd and final laps around the track. Zach Hudson will not have time to get that third lap in. It takes about 2 minutes to get around here, and there's 2:24 on the clock. He is definitely not going to get back to start-finish in just 20 seconds, so he is going to be having to make the most out of this final lap, or he'll be starting this race from the tail end of the grid. It'll be a tense fight, no doubt. I know Matthew Escajeda has pulled his car off a pit road for qualifying. McGinnis also bailed out, so has Sheldon. Leaving Anders Krohn, the first driver out there, to actually see if he can maybe improve and go for pole. Got the Butlers also out there. Wade Michael is out there. Got Jackson Ball, and then, of course, Zach Hudson out on track. Nicholas Leo deeper in the field. So you got about 6 drivers still on course, looking to see if they can potentially set some times. Ball ran wide through Canada corner. I think he'll get that lap invalidated. We watch Zach Hudson then as he gets set to come around through this final corner as remaining drivers just up the road start to see if they can click away at the times. Out of the final corner, bit of a wobble for Zach Hudson that time by. That might cost him a couple of very crucial hundredths of a second. Anders Krohn not able to improve on his lap times, and that appears to be the case so far throughout the order. Zach Hudson logs a 2:05.063. That is only good enough for ninth fastest. Wade Michael does improve, though. He will be going up to 5th place, leaving just Nicholas Leo to cross the line. Can he improve from 7th place? And it looks like he does not. Just 7 thousandths of a second off of his best time in qualifying. He is the last of the drivers that we were waiting to come on and set a time.
Good. That was a good shot. No, all things considered in qualifying, this has really flipped up the order. Now, Anders Krohn, your defending champ, your brand new champion, to be honest, is suddenly under pressure from McGinnis. And now, I know this is not a pressure-filled championship. I know they're just out here to have a little bit of fun. But isn't this nice to see? Isn't this nice to see that McGinnis, who's often been here or there, largely down to the fact that he's not all the races, but the fact that whenever he's here, he's putting up his fight and he's showing Krohn that he can be fighting here with him the next season. Man, it's just a good way to end, a good preview of what could be coming up. That fight is the fight we're going to see here today. McGinnis versus Krohn. And Rick Sheldon as well, Nolan. He's been looking surprisingly good. I mean, recently his results have been a bit bittersweet, as he's rightly mentioned on when he's come on air. But this is just a sudden uptick in form, and how pleasant is that to see?
Rick Sheldon is definitely further up the grid than we're used to seeing. We'll see what he can do starting from 3rd place. So let's take a rundown for your starting grid for this season finale from Road America. It's Robert McGinnis on pole position. Anders Krohn lines it up beside him, 17 thousandths apart on the front row. Rick Sheldon is down in 3rd with Max Butler in 4th, half a second back. And Wade Michael in 5th with Joe Butler down in 6th.
Then, of course, we've got Nicholas Leo starting in 7th with Matthew Escajeda, the previous champion of this championship, starting in 8th, followed by Zach Hudson in 9th, Jackson Ball running off the grid.
And of course, less than a second separating all 10 drivers throughout this field, showing that it is a bit of a tight field out there today. And with how powerful the draft can play, it could be a big step here to see how this race could play out. There's only 2 cars that have to wait for grid up, and it's a very short pace lap, Sumo, only about 1 corner action before we get this race underway once everybody grids up. So your final thoughts here as they are gridded up, we get set to go pacing.
This is going to be crazy. A proper draft fest, a good way to end the year in my opinion, and I just want to see a fight. I know I'm being a bit too selfish. I just want to see a fight between McGinnis and Krohn. I think we've been waiting all year long for this. I remember back at Road Atlanta how much fun it was. This is going to end with a bang as well.
So coming around through the final corner, the pace car going to pull it, well, the pace truck, I should say, going to pull it down into pit road. Robert McGinnis versus Anders Krohn. Who can come out on top? McGinnis trying to go for one last shot of glory. Anders Krohn looking to already start on his title defense. Green flag drops. It's go, go, go. The season finale for the Rio Races Virtual Club. And it's a good launch from Robert McGinnis. Anders Krohn tucks in line. Already looking to go on the offensive. Moving back over to the right side as McGinnis pokes over to the racing line. It's a drag race down towards turn number 1 for the first time today. And Anders Krohn already up to the race lead through turn 1. Single file throughout the field. Bit of a bobble for Matthew Escajeda behind. Under 5 for Nicholas Leo. Out through turn number 2. Can Robert McGinnis potentially mount a charge up to Anders Krohn? It's going to be a long drafting run all the way out from turn 3 in the sprint down the hill all the way to turn number 5. Here comes the run from Robert McGinnis already crowding Anders Krohn. Krohn goes defensive. McGinnis looking back over to the right-hand side. So it's side by side for the race lead once again. Anders Krohn backs out, tucks in line, and McGinnis takes it back, entering turn 5, Sumo.
But that same thing could not quite be done by Rick Sheldon right there. He started third, currently in P number 4. Maybe that's why starting on pole right here isn't the best of ideas in a rolling start, because the draft can put you back. But McGuinness smartly used it on the run to turn number 5, got the jump on Krone. But Rick Sheldon from P3 couldn't quite do that. He's back down on P4.
So McGuinness leads from Anders Krone, from Max Butler, from Rick Sheldon, from Joe Butler to round out the top 5 in the top half of the field. Sheldon dropped back 1. Max Butler poked his way up into third place. The sprint down towards turn number 5, and Sheldon could not fight back against it. So through the kink of turn 11 for the first time, you watch the field of 10 and Pro Mazda strong, thundering down this long straightaway through the sweeping woods on one of the most beautiful sections of racetrack you'll see in all of North America, and pulling out the right-hand side. McGuinness gives up the lead to Anders Krone, coming up for Canada the corner, and botches Canada the corner as a result. Did not expect to see McGuinness backing out so early for the race lead, pulled up to the right-hand side and slowed up to let Anders Krone up in front. Max Butler trying to think about maybe going around the inside of turn 15 for the second position. That doesn't go anywhere though, so we are completely clean throughout the field, coming up over the hill for the first time today as Anders Krone to lead lap number 1 for Robert McGuinness.
And let's wait and watch the effect of the draft. Let's see how effective it is right now. Everyone in a straight line, and you can see Krone trying to break out, trying to make sure that McGuinness goes past. That's interesting. They're actually swapping positions constantly. And this is going to be fun to see if Krone can hold on to second right now as well.
Ran really wide through turn 1. That cost Krone big time and allowed Max Butler up into second place. That means Robert McGuinness already has a lead of almost 1 second. You can see McGuinness weaving left and right across the track, trying to keep both drivers at bay. And Anders Krone looks around the right-hand side. Max Butler looking maybe defend up into turn number 5 behind Joe Butler, side by side with Rick Sheldon into the braking zone and down the hill. Gotta be careful through here. This is where we saw the collisions in the first race. So far, though, they get through there cleanly, but it's already over a second now for Robert McGuinness back to Anders Krone. That was not the run that Anders Krone wanted to have. Trying to pull him McGuinness right. He tried to look around to the inside line and slow up a little bit to allow McGuinness to get the position to set him up for the run. But he ran wide through turn 1, and that cost Krone big time. He's lost over a second now as a result of that mistake.
Yeah, exactly. While trying to swap around, that's where he lost all the time. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter who is P1 for the entirety of the race. It really does not. So long as everyone behind is under that second mark, or maybe 0.8 of a second mark, because then the draft can be effective. Then you can have a last lap battle. And right now, McGuinness might be P1, but if the others are able to close up, it doesn't matter who's leading the race until that very last lap. So stick right here. This is going to get really rather fun. But interestingly about Krone, he really lost so much of time, and he had to really properly put in a scrap right there to keep position. And they dropped more time. McGuinness would have just literally ran away with it, and closing up with it would have been even harder. At least now, they're in that second bracket, that lucky second bracket.
You saw, though, how much time Anders Krone closed up in that third sector, though. The gap shortened in from 1.3.5 seconds down to just 1.02. So Anders Krone much better through the second half of the lap, and now closes that gap down to under a second in drafting range. Look out for Rick Sheldon and Joe Butler trying to scrap away for spots just in behind. That's down for 4th place. Butler's got damage on his front wing. He'll try to look around the outside of Rick Sheldon for turn 1. Sheldon's not having it, though. Going to try to fight this one out down the hill into turn 3. Wayne Michael thinking about a look just in behind, but there's just no room for him to do so. So Joe Butler's got some front end damage on the right side of his front wing. That might be hampering him in some of these runs we see down the long straightaways. The top 3 breakaway, Sheldon gets crowded out. Wayne Michael has to back out to avoid turning Rick Sheldon off the track. And it'll be Sheldon that put Joe Butler under fire in the sprint of towards turn number 5. So close to call between them as they turn it in for the corner. And it looks like that'll be a battle done and dusted, and might have to sort that one out another time for Rick Sheldon. You see Escajeda also under fire from Nicholas Leo just behind, but that'll get itself sorted out as well.
Joe Butler was so good. Joe Butler was so good while defending. Now he has to go back in and show that again. He was blocking off all the right lines at all the right times. And that's why he is at the head of that train. But he's got to keep doing it again and again and again and again, because all the drivers up front are breaking away. And so this is a new train. This is one P4, P7 in the championship. I think matters right here. Every position counts, and every battle right now is going to be amplified by that very reason. Slipstreaming, drafting. Is Escajeda going to lose his position finally to Leo at this moment?
As it looks as though he will. No. Oh no! Joe Butler gets turned into Canada corner and sent off into the tire barriers. Not the end of the season Butler wanted to have. Getting tipped by Rick Sheldon in the braking zone. Sheldon swings wide as a result. He lost out on the spot to Wade Michael. Other than that, though, relatively unscathed for the number 63 car, but disaster for Joe Butler in the season finale. He's going to be out of this race with major suspension damage.
That is so bad to see. You really wanted to see Joe Butler actually fight harder and defend harder, but now that honor has to be taken away by Wade Michael. Suddenly under pressure from Rick Sheldon, and Rick Sheldon actually loses the position to Escajeda. So the drafting is prevalent. All of a sudden, while it looked like Sheldon would actually make an overtake, he was the one being passed. The hunter becomes the hunted. I like this.
Taking a look at the replay now, what happened to Joe Butler, just too deep on the brace for Rick Sheldon. There you see Butler had it locked up, but once you get in the sand in that area of the racetrack, there is just no stopping it. You watch the crazy battle continuing to develop on the bottom right now, center stage on your screens. And Zach Hudson trying to get around Jackson Ball into turn 5, but it's no dice for Zach Hudson. Try to go for the over-under, up for 6. Getting covered off by Jackson Ball. Doesn't leave that door open. That's what you want to do, right? You want to park your car right in the middle of the track, because when you go up into these blind kinks, up and over these hills, the last thing you're going to expect your opponent to do is actually commit one down the inside through such a tight gap.
It's the intimidation factor. You make sure that they are intimidated enough so that they're not able to put the nose down your inside line. And the thing at Road America is there's so much space they can do that. They can actually put their nose on the inside line. Maybe once or twice, they can even sneak out a move over there. So it's crazy how many opportunities this circuit offers, and it's crazy how many opportunities we've seen mature in this race so far. But a real shame that we've seen Butler going back there, but Escajeda on the attack now. He's on the prowl.
And makes up the pass beautifully on Wayne Michael. Here comes Rick Sheldon trying to find one down the inside of Canada again, but Rick Sheldon cannot capitalize on the move. Tried to break later, but nothing doing for the number 63. He's got to tuck it in and wait just a little bit longer. Up in front, Anders Krone has caught Robert McGinnis. This battle for the lead, not done yet. Krone going to be on the attack, looks over to the right-hand side, and this time Robert McGinnis does not try to defend against it. I have a feeling Robert McGinnis knew that draft was coming, knew he was going to get past no matter what. May as well make it easy on yourself. Tucks in line just by the slimmest of margins as cones go flying. Anders Krone sets the fastest lap of the race with the 204.049.
And now watch out for Butler in the background as well. He's closing up awfully close. So right now, all the swapping that's happening, it may seem friendly, it may seem fun, but beyond the point, these two guys fighting needlessly might end up leading to Butler taking the lead, and that would not be a part of the ideal script for these guys. Now again, McGinnis trying to take the lead, and this will go on. This will really go on until the end of the race, but it does not matter. All that matters is who is leading at the final corner and how close is the driver behind them at the final lap. Because if they're close enough, this could literally be a side-by-side photo finish. And I already get that feeling though, and I think it's coming today.
Will not be the first time we've seen something like that in this series, or at least, at the very least, a daring last lap pass. How many times have we seen something like that, right? These guys trying to absolutely give it everything they possibly physically can that the sim will allow them to do, really, in the final stages of a race. So Robert McGinnis to see if he can stay ahead of Anders Krone for now, but it's going to be a hard ask around through the kink and out through Canada corner. I have a feeling Anders Krone could potentially get the lead back here up into turn 12, but he's going to go for it though, because he's going to have to worry about that front straightaway. He's going to go for it all the same though. Anders Krone looking over the right hand side, and Robert McGinnis taking the wise move there, backing out, letting Anders Krone in front. No point going side by side when you know this straightaway coming up in just 3 corners where you'll easily be able to get it back.
Yeah, exactly. That's the element, right? Just driving slightly faster, driving slightly smarter in this case. And they're doing that just right now. 14 and a half odd minutes left to go off more of this. And I wonder when will be that time when they fight legitimately. Right now, it's just a draft coming in and allowing one driver get the edge on the other one, as I suppose McGinnis will be able to do this time as well. This is harmless scrapping. This is just trying to nudge each other, trying to give each other a slap on the wrist. This will really mature on the final lap. And Butler, I wonder when he becomes variable in this fight as well.
Further in the back, you saw Wayne Michael make him pass Matt Escajeda running wide through turn 1. Escajeda not going to make that look up into turn 3. He's going to have to wait around for turn 5. Wise move from Escajeda. So going to the battle for the lead on the right-hand side of your screen. Battle for 4th place over on the left-hand side. Lead is on. Anders Krone trying to make the look of Robert McGinnis. McGinnis clips the grass and into the braking zone. Here comes Butler trying to throw his hat into the ring. Anders Krone is up into a position as Escajeda makes a spot just in behind these guys as well. So looks like it could be a fierce scrap in the midfield in particular here. You ride on board, or you were right on board with Joe Butler for a second on the left-hand side of the screen. Max Butler, excuse me. Then you got everybody else looking to duke it out on the right-hand side.
That midfield, the train just keeps on growing eventually. Now Escajeda is the one with the target on his back. Could you imagine that? At the start of the Escajeda was the one with the target on his back, and suddenly the target has flailed away into the grass.
And that was an unforced error. Matthew Escajeda just getting too aggressive on the throttle pedal there. For the looks of things, spun the wheels up on corner exit. It's a very easy mistake to do in these little Pro Mazdas. They don't have a lot of horsepower underneath them, but they're so light as well. Now you can see Robert McGinnis working his way back up and past Anders Krone. He'll try to maybe go make a run back for the race lead. Max Butler is in the fray of this as well. How about Joe Butler, the inside of Rick Sheldon, through Canada corner? He'll also be able to make a move up and pick up yet another position, putting Rick Sheldon one more further spot down. And looks like Nicholas Leo looking to put Sheldon under some serious fire now, coming up to the final corner as well. Thought for a moment Sheldon was going to get run over. That thankfully did not end up being the case. Now you can see the battle for the lead on the left-hand side. McGinnis have to defend against Krone, and now you got Max Butler in the mix of things as well. But Butler biding his time. He's being very, very patient with this. And that's what Max Butler needs to do, right? Let them battle it out amongst themselves up front. Just sit back, take a bit of a breather.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's doing the smart thing right now. Once he puts himself right in the middle of both these drivers, that's when the fight really explodes. Right now, it's not exploding. It's just like a small firecracker popping off, and you know that the bigger one will pop off later on in the race. When Butler decides to make himself an element, what's happened here, though? Bad spin!
That was Nicholas Leo. Looked like that went off and into the grass as Robert McGinnis makes his move up, and he'll take up another spot from Anders Krone. Once again going for the race lead. Right-hand side of the screens. There goes Jackson Ball at the inside of Wayne Michael into turn 5. The 10 car goes wide, clips the sand trap. He's going to come back on, though, nicely. Jackson Ball not going to be able to go for the move yet, so Wayne Michael holds on to 4th place, but Nicholas Leo, another unforced error. That time, though, not spinning up the wheels like Escajeda did, as Sumo just put the grass on the left-hand side. That was enough to send him around. Luckily, kept it out of the barrier.
Yeah, exactly. That's a bit of a shame, but still seeing all these spins. You can see the pressure of the race, and you can see the pressure of the trains getting to the drivers right now, where unforced errors like this eventually happen. That's the part of it. The train is so pressurizing. You've got to be the leader so well in this one. Sometimes it gets to you. I'll tell you what. One person who it's not getting to is Anders Krone. He's just constantly able to sweep past McGinnis, and right now McGinnis is saying, right, the friendly battling is over. Now I'm going to check you out. Only 10 minutes to go. I think the fun begins here, Nolan.
10 minutes to go, and an estimated 5 laps left on the docket as well. And not just this race, but throughout this fall season for the Real Races Virtual Club presented by Liberty Group. Here's a replay of what happened to Nicholas Leo. You're gonna watch this, just clips the sand of the exit. That's all she wrote. Locks it down instantly, though, and that was enough to just keep him out of the barrier. So good move there. Get that thing locked down, and only going with a couple of hurt tires. Here goes McGinnis back up the inside of Anders Krone. Max Butler thinking about fancying a look down the inside line, but he opts to back out of that one instead. Still got time to make this work. 10 minutes, that's still just about half of this race.
Yep, there's ample of time left in this one, and there's ample of space left at the circuit as well. It's just about timing your shot at the right moment. Right now, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're first, doesn't matter if you're third. That's why they're able to just crap around so well. But I'm still intrigued by the fact that Butler just does not want to get there in the top positions. Every time he has a chance, he backs off, lets the top two do their own thing, and then waits for the right moment. I wonder when that right moment actually is. How late is he willing to go for this one?
So that time around, Anders Crow was not willing to back out as easily. Robert Guinness had to give a real run for his money. Same story with Rick Sheldon and Jackson Ball up the right-hand side of the screen. Just there, Sheldon dives up, but he's too deep. Jackson Ball going for the over-under here, trying to get a run-up. Potentially out through turn 7 through the right-hand 90-degree kink. Not gonna happen though. Jackson Ball's got to tuck this one in line. How about side by side to the carousel? Crone back of the inside of Robert McGinnis. That's something you don't see every day, especially in open wheel single seaters. McGinnis was not expecting it, and Crone makes the pass up. McGinnis trying to go back into the kink. That's a very bold move indeed, and McGinnis gonna back out of that one just in time. Battle is on. Crone parked in the middle of the track. Can Max Butler potentially make his way up a spot? The battles are on. Butler's done waiting, trying to make the look up to second place, and McGinnis has to yield. No room for him to make the run for the race lead, and Max Butler is going to take second place.
That's it. The games are over. Now, the real fight at the top begins. This is going to be it. This is going to be fun. How did they go? Can someone explain this to me? I'm still confused. You just don't do that. I don't know, maybe bravery pills along with dinner early on this evening. That is tremendous. And now the drafting that you'll see, it's not just the fact that they're going to let someone go past. They are going to swerve and swerve and swerve and swerve and try to keep hold of their position. McGinnis now trying to go for one on the inside line, but finally there's not enough space. But there will be at turn number 2, Nolan. There will be a chance.
If I'm Robert McGinnis, I'm honestly going to think about sitting in behind. Do what Max Butler did. Let Butler pull you up to Anders Crone as he runs wide through turn 5. Nearly does what Nicholas Leo did. Under 10 minutes to go. And at this point in time, only about 4 laps left. Butler trying to close Anders Crone. Weaving around so much you think he's trying to warm his tires up under a safety car period.
Yeah, they look like mosquitoes basically, where they're just constantly diving around from side to side and almost having a bit of a moment there. Butler having one wheel on the grass. Had it been 2, he would have been facing the wrong way. Maybe McGinnis would have been taken out as well. Lucky for us, they are okay.
3.5 tenths separate Crone from Butler. Jackson Ball makes up the overtake. Rick Sheldon. Whoa! Big mistake for Max Butler. Sees Robert Guinness shoot back past the pressure made Max Butler crag, ran too wide. I believe that was turn 9, and just overcorrected, went into the dirt, and Guinness saw the open door, and he took it. Now this is where the battles really start to pick up, right? You got Robert Guinness, who definitely wants to go and pick up one more race win. Anders Crone looking to see if he can just seal the deal one more time. He's already got the title virtually secure, but looking to just make it official.
And now, the thing is, Butler's mistake was a bit bad, right? You saw him go to the outside line. More on this in a second because Rick Sheldon has had a bit of an error. Well, and that was Nick Leo coming in and hitting him over there as well. And here's the error from Butler, running slightly wide, getting a bit slow. But the thing is, it's not that bad because he's in that range, he's in that 1 second mark, which means that regardless of how slow he was in that corner, he's still able to get closer. McGinnis now was looking at the outside of Crone. McGinnis could get to the outside of Crone properly. And now there's an error from Crone. He loses momentum. McGinnis is coming fast. So is Butler now.
No pass being made, though. The gap just wasn't there, but you saw Crone twitch a little bit, and it's only going to take those little twitches that's going to kind of bring this battle up into full screen. And look at them all weaving around like a group of hornets trying to go after me when I hit a hornet's nest with a rock when I was a little kid. And Robert Guinness trying to have one up the outside, screaming for it, trying to have the go up into turn 5, but it's nothing doing this time around. Anders Crone is done, backing off to wait for him to go through. He's looking to hang on to a race lead with 5 minutes to go.
Oh boy, things get properly exciting right now. And what will McGinnis do right now? Crone knows what McGinnis has been doing so far. Is there an ace up his sleeve? Is there a surprise move coming somewhere? Maybe like the move down the inside that Crone did here at the carousel. Maybe something at the kink. Who knows how this is going to go? Who knows? And that's the fun part. Nobody knows.
And out through the king, the weaving once again begins with under 5 minutes to go, coming to 2 to go. Robert Guinness looking for the outside line. Anders Crone going to have to defend. Butler waiting patiently in the wings. Biding this time, wanted to pick this battle. Anders Krohn wide through 12. McGinnis allows him the room to come back on course. There's almost nothing between these drivers here, Sumo. This is going to go down right to the wire. Robert McGinnis trying to do everything he can to chase down Anders Krohn down the front straightaway. And once again, to the left, to the right, like they're doing the cha-cha slide. So Robert McGinnis trying to get a run on Anders Krohn. Across the line, this time by 2 laps remaining. Max Butler even trying to get into the mix of things as well. Krohn defends. McGinnis gonna have to go to the left-hand side. Tries to crowd Krohn to the middle. Krohn's not having it. And Anders Krohn once again holds on to the race lead, but only just through turn 1.
They are literally dangling on a racetrack. McGinnis to the outside again. McGinnis has to wait once again for this one, but the run might be just too good. The draft might be just too good. Who knows? This might be the defining one on the grass.
That's not how you make an overtake. Tries to force Anders Krohn out of line. You talk about intimidation. That's a whole new level right there. Talk about commitment from McGinnis. No room, though. Anders Krohn not even phased. And the number 47 car hangs tough with it. So Anders Krohn going to have to try to hang on just a little bit longer. Couldn't ask for a better way to end off the season than a thrilling battle such as this. That's what it's like with 2 to go, Sumo. What do you think 1 to go is going to look like?
Oh man, I think that is going to be one of the best finishes of this entire season. The best way to end the season is to end it on a high, and this is the highest of highs that we've seen so far in terms of proper battling. Side by side of the carousel for a second. It makes your voice crack, stuff like this.
Try to have a go. The go wasn't there. Can he go on the outside line of the kick? He's going to try to go for it here. Round the outside. That's almost something you never see in any car. Nobody ever has the guts to make it work. Throw pressure. McGinnis over to the left-hand side, trying to keep him pinned in right towards the apex. McGinnis gets 2 wheels into the grass. But Krohn hangs on just barely through Canada corner. Out of turn number 12. He has got to be sweating bullets in that neon pink machine. You got McGinnis still trying to close. White flag this time by. McGinnis down the inside of the final corner. Somebody's got to tell him this ain't the last lap yet. He's still got more chances, man.
Oh boy, this could be the last lap though. This is their last stance of the season. And now Butler will come into effect. Now Butler knows that time is not on his side. If there's a moment, it's now. Look at the swerving. Look at the dancing. McGinnis to the outside line. Butler gets close.
Banging wheels down the pit straight into turn 1. McGinnis hanging tough with it. Does he try into 2? No room. Anders Krohn holds up. He's going to go for it. Robert McGinnis tries one up the inside of turn 3, but still no space. Anders Krohn covers him off. Here comes Butler. This is ever a chance for a 3-wide pass. It's down to the turn number 5. Krohn going to hang to the left. McGinnis, does he try to force the issue on the grass again? This time doesn't go for it. Back to the right-hand side. Max Butler trying to hang with them here. Does he opt to push it 3 wide into the braking zone? He decides against it, and Robert McGinnis has to back out. Butler trying to capitalize, but there's no space for the 9 to make the move.
And now Krohn is your leader, but for how much longer? For how much longer can he keep hold of it? They touch, they make contact. Butler, and they're off.
McGinnis spun out of the fight for the race lead. Not how we wanted to see such a thrilling fight end. But it isn't over yet. Anders Krohn still has to navigate the rest of the course with Max Butler just 1.4 seconds behind. What a way for a battle to end in the season finale of the Real Race Virtual Club. McGinnis has taken the tow. He is out of the race on the last lap. Heartbreak for the number 80 machine. Thought he might have had something. Ended up being nothing doing. Take another look at this one. McGinnis tried to look on the inside. Got into it with Anders Krohn. And Max Butler tried to capitalize, and there was just no space to make it work. Broke the suspension. And now you can see the heads-up drag between Wayne Michael and Zach Hudson into Canada corner. This is the battle for what is now the final podium position. Wayne Michael goes off onto the left-hand side of the track, and that's going to be a heads-up race all the way out. The final couple of corners looking to go with it. Anders Krohn, meanwhile, exits the final corner as Zach Hudson looks to defend from Wayne Michael. And up the hill, Anders Krohn is now officially the champion of the Real Race Virtual Club of the fall season with Max Butler in second. It's a drag race for third just behind. Here comes Michael. He's got the run, and he's going to pip Zach Hudson right at the line.
We told you there was a finish like this coming. Not at the top, but at least for P3, that is tremendous. And now Leo blocks off Jackson Ball to finish up ahead at P number 6. This will completely topple up the standings. But who cares? That was fun. And that's the matter. That was fun. What a way to it. Oh man, that was so good. Took a little break. Took a bit of a breath to just recenter and recalibrate after that one. But here are the results from this frantic finale at Road America, honestly. Anders Krohn winning, but the margin you see is not the margin he actually won from. It was so much closer. Had it not been that final letter for beginners, he would have been second, maybe even P1, who knows? But it's Max Butler coming home in second. Really smart drive by him. And Wade Michael, look at by how much he pipped Zach Hudson. Barely anything. That was the fight for P3. Hudson in P4. Esker Hayter rounding off the season in a very good way by finishing in P5, followed by Nicholas in 6th, Jackson Ball in 7th, Robert McGuinness. What could have been in P number 8. Joe Butler in 9th, and Rick Sheldon after a great qualifying. Not quite able to translate that into, but again, better opportunities will come him. But 10. Only 10 cars racing today, but you know, right? You saw, folks, how only 10 cars can produce such a great race. And that's the point. You don't need 1,000 cars to have a great race. You just need a few good drivers and some really good racing to pop this up and to make this really great show. That was what Road America was all about. That is what the final round of the championship is all about. And let's actually see if we can find some of the drivers right here and actually have a word with them. It will be quite fun to see how things go eventually, to know their take on this battle that just happened right here today. Who have we got first?
Well, hopefully it'll be Anders Krohn to give us a chat. Sorry for the small technical difficulties, by the way. I hope I'm back now. We'll see if we can dial up Anders Krohn, your race winner at the end of the night. Anders, what a fight for you. I think that's got to be the biggest fight you've been given all season long so far.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. That was just, that was astonishing. And I think we'd all earmarked this race as like, yeah, the drafting here is going to be absolutely crazy, and yeah, it lived up to its expectations. So no, that was awesome. What a way to end the season.
Well, with your DNS, I should say, not of course being present a couple weeks ago over at Sonoma, you actually managed to find, or Laguna Seca, excuse me, you actually found yourself winning the championship there as a result of that from the drop weeks. How did that feel, being able to come into this race and not have to worry about fighting for a title?
You know, I wish I would have been able to be at Laguna Seca, because it looked like it was an awesome race. So it was a big shame, and you know, you never really want to win a championship by not being present, right? But at the same time, I mean, I think it made this race just that much more enjoyable, because there was really nothing on the line. So no, a ton of fun as per usual. What a way to end the year. Yeah, that was awesome.
And you mentioned, of course, you know, just how great of a season you had here around. You certainly looked at fun out there. You took race wins aplenty, I believe a total of about 8 or so throughout the course of the entire year from start to finish. Does this mean that we could find you back when we return?
I absolutely plan on it. Yeah, they'd have to ban me to keep me away. So, but no, it's awesome. You know, Rick and Dave, they've put together such a great thing here, and it's just awesome to see week in, week out all these quality drivers. You know, some virtual drivers, some real drivers, but you know, all of us just come together, and it's a good little community. It's a lot of fun, and yeah. So again, unless they ban me or blacklist me, I'll be back.
Well, I certainly am glad to hear that. Hopefully you'll be able to go out there and potentially defend your crown coming into the third season. Thank you for joining us today. Not just today, Anders, but throughout the entirety of the season. Congratulations on a well-earned championship, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks ever so much.
That was your race winner, Anders Krohn. Definitely well-deserved of a race win here today. We'll see if we can get a hold of one Max Butler. Your P2 finisher joins to the booth, and Sumo, I'll toss this one down to you.
Max, what a crazy race. What a crazy ending to that one. Can you just talk us through what was the feeling in your car all the way through when you were sitting back in P3 throughout the race, and then what happened at the end?
So I was staring at my boys Rob and Anders the entire time, just waiting to figure out when I should be making that move. I mean, the thing about this track is the fact that you can get by somebody. You're not pulling away unless you're like significantly faster. So I knew that it was going to have to come down to those last few laps, and I know that Wade was getting close to the championship, so I was just playing coy the entire race. But it came down to the last lap, and I was finally carrying a little bit more speed in some corners. And Rob and I got into a little tangle there, so I ended up carrying more speed around 6 on the outside, and while I was coming back on track off the curbing, he just juked over and had a little bit of contact. So gutted for him. We were running so fast all night, and it was going to come down to a photo finish, but end of the day, I'm really happy with P2, and yeah, I know I secured P2 in the championship, so that's all I could really ask for.
Yeah, and congratulations on that, mate. Great effort all year round. Some crazy driving. And this time, to see you competitive, to see you fighting for the win as well. Such a pleasure. How was the season, all things considered, for you?
No, the season as a whole was probably, like, I know I only did one other season before this, but I'm really proud that I managed to finish at the sharp end of most races, and I was seen as a competitor at most times. So even though I didn't come in first, I think it's safe to say Anders is a lightning bolt behind the wheel. So I'm happy to finish right on his tail and put some pressure on him next season.
Should be good to have you over there, mate. Really great fun watching you race over here. Many thanks for coming to have a word with us. Great stuff, mate. Thank you so much for joining. And great racing.
Thank you guys so much for putting on the broadcast. And thank you, all of our fans out there in the YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm looking at you. So tune in January. We're going to have an epic time. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, mate.
That was your second place finisher, Max Butler, bringing it up to join us up here in the broadcast booth. We'll continue down the order in the podium, and we will get in touch with Wade and Michael. And how about that for a coincidence? First, second, and third, and not just the race, but also in the point standings. Wade, Michael, you managed to pick up a third place in the points as a result from this one in your battle for third. That must feel good at the photo finish tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that was the goal, right? I've been talking about it all season long. You know, the hope to, stay consistent, stay clean, and keep third place in the standings. And I'm just really glad the race kind of just came to me today. And I didn't get the qualifying lap I necessarily wanted, and I didn't get the start that I necessarily wanted. And I think I had the pace to run with Anders and Max and Rob today, especially in the draft. The draft was crazy at this track, but once they got away, that gap was a little bit too insurmountable. But yeah, overall, really pleased with the year and this race in general, and happy to come home P3 in the championship standings.
Of course, Road America as a whole, it's a venue that is clearly popular in this series as a season finale. We saw it as the season finale in the Formula 3 season all the way back in the spring. It repeated itself in the same place over here for the Pro Mazda season here in the fall. Do you like this track? Because a lot of people seem to do.
Oh, it's my favorite track. I'm actually, I'm admittedly from Wisconsin, and I grew up, as just like a wee little tot, barely able to like talk or walk on the hillside of Turn 5. So, I know this place like the back of my hand, all the nooks and crannies of it, and did some racing in karts when I was younger here as well. And it's my favorite track probably in the world, and to end the season here was fun.
And for you, it was overall a very successful campaign all the way throughout this fall season, where we picked it up over in August, back in the summer. Do you plan to be back in January for the winter season?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is the highlight of my week. I work to make sure I have the time to do it and attend the races and put the time in to practice. And, it's so fun because it fills that competitive urge I have as like, a racer myself, and to be able to compete with guys with incredible talent, to be able to compete with them and try to push myself further to continue to improve, to continue to learn racecraft, and just continue to push myself is really a dream come true. This has been an incredible experience, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you have certainly been enjoying yourself. We've certainly been enjoying watching you race out there, and hopefully you'll be able to move your way up even higher in the point standings come the winter season in January.
That's the goal, man. Appreciate all the work you guys do and for making us look good. And, we love sharing these feeds and love telling everybody about what we're doing. So looking forward to continue to grow this thing that we do into next season.
And that was way Michael bringing it home in the third place, the last driver on the podium, winning out in a photo finish for one Zach Hudson to also pick up P3 in the point standings. Still have two more people we want to talk to before we end things out tonight. Pass down to our fourth place finisher here, Zach Hudson, and I'll hand this one off to you, Sumil.
Zach, what a finish, mate. That was quite something. Can you just talk us through the nerves that you were feeling towards that very end? That was amazing. Great racing drive.
Oh my gosh. What an epic battle between Wade and I. We were talking the final few laps, and I'm sitting there. I told him, I'm like, let's put on a show, let's make it a photo finish. And sure enough, we did. That final lap was really awesome, but it was really clean between both of us. We were coming into the straights, and I wanted to just bide my time, stay in his draft, and tell Canada Corner those final few turns, just then try to hopefully take it away from there. The draft is just so mean here that it's hard to just kind of get away. So. Ultimately, it didn't pay off. I didn't get that podium, that ever elusive podium. I will get it next season for sure. But man, what a race between Wade and I was so thrilled.
Seriously, man. And with that, I think you get joint 7th in the championship. A great year, all things considered. And the racing has been extremely fun, especially when you consider how messy it got to see you in P7 as well. That, I think, is positive.
Absolutely. It's great to finish this season kind of on a high. I believe P7, and I think I'm tied with Nick. I think that's who it is. So, to finish the season with 2 top 5 finishes back to back after earlier in the season having some trouble feels really good. So, gives me some good momentum leading into next season, and very much looking forward to it.
Also, Zach, finally, before we let you go, a word on Valentino, because we know that you have a collection of Valentino Rossi, Nicky Hayden helmets. Can you just talk us through your emotions in this past week as well to see him die from Moto?
Yeah, absolutely. The helmet I actually run with in this series is his donkey helmet. And there's a very funny story for those who know about why he ran the donkey helmet. So, I was lucky enough to watch Valentino Rossi race 3 times in my life, and I consider myself very lucky for that. He is very much a legend of the sport, an icon, and congrats on a well-deserved retirement for the champ. So Forza Valle for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. Really great fun to have a word with you. Really great fun to watch you racing as well this year.
Yes. No, thank you guys for an incredible season of coverage. Very much looking forward to it next year. So.
That was Zach Hudson bringing it home in 4th place at the end of the night, and always a pleasure to be able to talk up to Zach Hudson. There's also another driver who we always have a pleasure talking to, and it is none other than one of the guys that helps to put this whole thing together. Rick Sheldon joins us up in the broadcast booth. Rick, it was a great qualifying for you today. Ended up not quite going your way, though, in the race.
Nah, I was pretty surprised when I got that quali lap. That was my fastest lap of the week in practice, and it was like, whoa, there it is. I just parked the car after I did that. I'm like, we'll just send it, into the pits. So, it was a really fun race, and I really enjoyed racing with the guys. We had a lot of good stuff going on. I just had a couple of moments, and really those 2 moments cost me. Just tapping the back of Joe was a bummer in Candida corner, and that kind of hurt him. And then I just lost the nose, and I was struggling all week in practice on the 3 left-hand turns. And I thought I had something, and then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of those guys, and it's a lot of work because your braking points are a little different when you're behind 2 or 3 guys. You're not running the same speed in the laps, and all in all, like I said, it was a lot of fun, and I would have liked a better result to send off the Pro Mazda. We're not going to be racing this car next season, and this is the car that I actually drive in the real world, and so I'll keep driving it in the real world, but everybody kind of was hoping to move up to the Indy Pro, which is what we're going to move to.
We talked a little bit earlier about how you and David Anderson seem to be really close on pace, even in the real world with your Datsun 510 races over at Thunder Hill last week. You seem to be really close in this championship as well. You are only 1 point separating each other. So as we move over to the Indy Pros, do you think you'll be able to finish up higher with Anderson hopefully right behind you?
That's the hope. All I know is this group in front of us is tough. I mean, if you take a look at P6 through P11, it's a pretty bunched field. Matthew is a little ahead of us, so we got to go catch him. But between Zach, Nick, Joe, me, and Dave, that's kind of like its own little race, its own little championship. And then above us, those guys they're definitely showing better, and we have to figure out what the differences are and try to catch them.
You mentioned you're moving to the Indy Pro 2000s next year, moving away from these Pro Mazdas, so continuing the trend of a new car per season. Is there anything else new that we can expect in this coming season?
We are going to run 2 ovals in that car since it is an oval car. So we haven't for sure. I've been talking to Steph, and he's actually helping me, get the season together. And he suggested a couple of oval tracks. Right now we're looking at Gateway, and we're looking at Phoenix. And so we'll see if those end up being them. But yes, we are going to start and end at Watkins Glen. We'd love that track. Love this track too, but really feel like that's a great. So our doubleheader this time is going to be split. It won't be a doubleheader. It'll be a season opener and a season closer. We'll stay with the same concept of, 11 race weekends and drop 3. We think that works really well. And maybe add 20 or 30 pounds to Anders Krohn's car. Other than that, we're going to be just fine.
Sounds like a plan. Then you got to put something in Anders Krohn's car. Put an anchor in it. Maybe that might slow him down a little bit to reel him into everybody else. Well, Rick, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure having you up at the booth as always. And I have to just say, best of luck going forward into the next season.
Thanks a lot. This is a blast. Everybody loves it, and you guys continue to do a good job. We will see you in January. Our first race will be January 4th, it looks like. And I'll be talking to Hugo and sending out the schedule and getting everything rolling forward. Thank you.
And thank you once again for taking the time to join us up at the booth, as well as for putting together such a great series for us to cover week in, week out. So that was Rick Sheldon, bringing it home, one of the main series organizers, and obviously the guy we have to certainly thank for just being able to have this even be a concept in the first place. Well, Sumo, you heard it here first. Not only is it the Indy Pro 2000 next year, but it is also potentially some oval racing. And they mentioned Gateway was a track they were looking at, and having commentated a couple of races with the Indy Pro 2000s at Gateway via the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, I can say I'm already approving of that choice.
That is actually going to add a lot of spice and a lot of flavor, as if we needed more into this championship. Man, this is exciting, this is fun, and I can't wait to see what exactly happens right there with the ovals, because suddenly it adds another variable, another skill to learn quickly. This will be fun.
It certainly has. It will be very fun in that season coming up in January. You heard it there first. Potentially on January the 4th is when this new season can be expected to get underway. But as we get set to close things out here from our fall season in 2021, Sumo, what are some of the closing thoughts you have throughout this race?
I was so amazed. This is my first year covering this championship, and I seriously have been so amazed by the championship. By just the fact that you can casually come up here on a Tuesday evening, have a great race, and more importantly, just have fun with each other. Doesn't have to be so competitive all the time. It can be competitive, but you can still take it lightly. Still go about with it in a more fun way. And that's the big learning from this championship, and that's the one thing I've enjoyed the most as well. Great year.
There you can see the official standings from the top 12 throughout the course of this year. Anders Krohn, your official champion, with Max Butler second. Wade Michael just beating up McGinnis to third. McGinnis down in fourth place with Ball fifth. Escajeda sixth. Hudson Leo tied for seventh. Joseph Butler at eighth, and Rick Sheldon down in 10th place, around at the top 10 points, just 1 point up from David Anderson. So as we get set to close on out here from Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out here and join us on a beautiful Monday night. My name is Ola Rempel with Suma Logoro beside me in the commentary box throughout the course of this season. Hugo Louise down behind the cameras for tonight's race. Thank you so much for joining us for more Monday night action here for the Real Races Virtual Club, presented by Liberty Group. We'll see you all in January.